Good morning. My name is Susan Moseley. I'm the minister for the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of the Rappahannock in Whitestone, Virginia. I'm really glad to be with you today. For those of you who don't know me, I'm a 9. And no, that's not on a beauty or popularity scale. It's on the Enneagram scale. Being a 9, like all of the 9 types, means that there are many positive qualities in each type. But also, being a 9 means that when things get tense, I get tired and I just want to go to sleep. Sleeping is a great avoidance tactic. So, given that I'm a 9, it's a little ironic that my talk today is about awakening. I begin with a story. It is said that soon after his enlightenment, the Buddha passed a man on a road who was struck by the Buddha's extraordinary radiance and peaceful presence. The man stopped and asked, "My friend, what are you? Are you a celestial being or a god?" "No," said the Buddha. "Well then, are you some kind of magician or wizard?" Again, the Buddha replied, "No." "Are you a man?" "No." "Well, my friend, then what are you?" The Buddha replied, "I am awake." What does that mean, awake? For the Buddha, awakening and enlightenment are interchangeable. Before he was Buddha, the young Siddhartha searched for years for the meaning of life. He studied with half a dozen schools of thought. He fasted and suffered as a path toward meaning. His moment of enlightenment came, as we know, under the Bodhi tree, when he finally understood that the meaning of life was not to be found out there, but within one's self. Everything he had been searching for was already within him. This enlightenment, his awakening, might also be described as an aha of wisdom. What about us in the 21st century? What in us is being stirred from slumber? Our nation is in the midst of noise, chaos, anxiety. It is time for an awakening and the pursuit of a collective wisdom sufficient to guide us through this season of discontent and even trauma to the human spirit. The present backdrop to all of our angst right now is the worldwide pandemic. But the global spread of the COVID-19 virus is only one of many traumas that we are facing. We are facing a health crisis, an education crisis, an environmental crisis, and in the election this fall, we're facing an economic, political, and moral crisis. In addition, there is the Black Lives Matter movement, which is a crisis that I see is a real sign of hope. That is, the ancient and deep-rooted wrongs of racism are finally publicly being addressed. We have a unique moment in time to look at ourselves and our values. Like the Buddha, who spent years searching for meaning out there, we think that we might be able to find the answers to the world's problems by choosing the correct side of the political polarities. But true wisdom resists polarity. True wisdom transforms the heart, brings something new. An essay titled America's Wisdom Problem by Tim Settle suggests that we as a nation have lost our access to wisdom. He admits that there are a lot of smart people in this country and even some wise ones scattered here and there. But our society, according to Settle, needs to awaken to the wisdom deep within the human soul. Think for a moment about the wisdom of change. Settle quotes Thomas Merton, who once said, "If the you of 5 years ago doesn't think of the you of today as a heretic, then you are not growing spiritually." There's a lot of wisdom in that. Change is necessary, and change can be positive, life-giving. You know, so much of our society is entrenched still in old norms and patterns of patriarchy, white supremacy. We as UUs long ago decided to move beyond that paradigm. We are living into a new paradigm of justice, love. But still, life is uncertain. The future now more than ever is unknown, uncertain, unfixed. The future is open. We must discover it together. It may not be what we want it to be or thought it would be. It may even be better. If we seek it together, listen deeply to one another, and awaken to the wisdom that is within. I have been talking about this moment in time that we find ourselves as a moment of awakening. And I want to give you the distinction, as I see it, between awakening and being woke. When Martin Luther King Jr. spoke at the General Assembly of the UUs in 1996, the title of his Ware lecture was "Don't Sleep Through the Revolution." In 2014, right after the shooting of Michael Brown in Ferguson, the word woke became entwined with the Black Lives Matter movement. Instead of just being a word that signaled awareness of injustice or racial tension, it became a word of action. Activists were woke, and they called on others to stay woke, to stay active and engaged. The process of awakening, on the other hand, is not so much about action, but about an internal shift, an encounter with wisdom. Wisdom is different than the accumulation of knowledge. Knowledge can be thought of as the accumulation of current information, but wisdom is timeless. It's the truths, those truths that transcend knowledge. So think about it. To be woke is to be energized by outside circumstances. To awaken is to be energized from within. One needs the other. And each of us comes to the process differently. For some, it is the inner awakening that stimulates the outward action. For others, the outward action invokes an inner reflection from which wisdom can emerge. It's important to remember it's not an either or, but a both and process. This is a moment in time when those of us who are white and privileged need to rise up, and not for ourselves, but to stand up and move our chairs over so that we make room at the table for all who have been excluded. If we are safe, then we must make sure that everyone else can be safe as well. If we have been educated, we must make and work for a solid, funded public education that's available to all. And maybe most important, when we get it wrong, we need to know that we got it wrong. Say that we got it wrong. And that will help us get it right. As UUs, we are a force to be reckoned with. Individually, we can't change the world, but together, we will continue to awaken to that inner voice of wisdom. We can wake up to the wrongs that need addressing in our own communities, and we can stay woke for the hard work of making justice a lived experience for all people. May it be so, and namaste.